Hi everyone! So, I read a lot of manga. Over the past couple of months, I've managed to read between 50 and 60 volumes a month, which is a lot of manga. No, I don't fully know how I did it. I haven't done too many videos where I actually talk about what I read, unless I talk about it as part of a whole, but this video will be one of those. Today I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of volume 1s that I read in May and whether or not I think they were worth the time. So I have a nice juicy stack of volume 1s. Next to me, I read 16 volume 1s in May. One of them was a FAQ, which I'm not going to talk about because it's just degenerate stuff. You don't need to know too much about that one. I'll talk to you about everything else though. So I think there's 15 in the stack that I'm going to talk to you about today. Just before we get started, as always, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more manga content. I am going to be filming a whole bunch of sort of recommendation videos for different types of genres and styles, so if you're looking forward to that sort of thing, definitely subscribe. I will also still be doing my manga hauls and unboxings. I have a big pile of parcels to the side of me that I need to film an unboxing of in the next few days, so that will be up hopefully in the next month or so. Also be sure to check out all the links down below, social medias, affiliates. If any of these volumes tickle your fancy, why not go use my Blackwell's affiliate link to go pick yourself up a copy. In fact, some of these volumes did actually come from Blackwell's and I will tell you which ones. But let's start with the first volume on my stack. As always, when I do like piles of manga, I do them alphabetically just because it makes it easier to pull them off my shelves and put them back on my shelves. So the first volume I have on the stack is Alice in Borderland Volume 1. So this is one of the volumes I bought from Blackwell's. I picked it up for about £11.30, which is about 3 for 2 price. I was pretty excited because it appeared on Blackwell's before it appeared in store. Just a couple of things about the volume before I talk about the story. I've seen a lot of people not very happy with the print quality of the volume because it is a £15.99 volume, £15.99 price range thingy, you know what I mean? Which is the same price range as like a JoJo volume, and they're nice hardback and everything, whereas this is like really floppy. And a lot of people I've seen on Instagram have had problems with like the print running and blur, like streaking on the pages. I luckily didn't notice any when I was reading it. I actually thought it was okay, the print, but I did actually see quite a lot of people have issues with that, which is really annoying, especially considering how much it costs. So Alice in Borderland was originally 18 volumes, I believe. These are, the English prints are omnibuses, so my assumption is there'll be about 9 of these. My understanding is that the 2 images in the circles on the cover are the covers of volumes 1 and 2. If that's true, that's pretty neat. I like that. Also, apparently the same author as Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead. Must say I enjoyed this way more than I enjoyed Zom 100. So the basic premise of this story is our main character and his friends are like lamenting how much they hate modern society, how they wish like everyone would die and they'd have to like scavenge themselves and stuff like that. And basically they end up sort of transported, Anisakai, to a world where it looks like they're in the future by like 100 years or a few decades or something. There's no one else there. I think it's Tokyo is like covered in vegetation. Is it Tokyo? Whichever city they are in is covered in vegetation. They go into supermarkets and all the food's gone off. Very weird, and they're psyched. They're so excited. They're like, this is what I wanted, and they go wild. And then after about a few hours, maybe a day, they're like, actually no, I'm not sure I'm vibing with this. I think yeah, I miss modern society. They sort of end up stumbling upon this sort of summer festival sort of looking area with lots of fresh food and stuff, and they run into another woman who's like, do you not know where you are? And they're like, no. She sort of tries to start explaining to them, but the game begins and it turns out they're like trapped in this area where the festival is and they have to complete the game or they'll die, I think. They're trapped in this strange world where you have to complete deadly games to survive. So if you don't complete the game, they will kill you. If you fail the game, they will kill you. If you complete the game, you get a few more days to live. But then you have to go and play some more games to earn like points to survive so many days. And that's pretty much all that's happened so far. They played a second game in the second volume, second half of the omnibus. Shit's going down, shit's dark. I do kind of like the art as well, quite a bit. I hope there's no spoilers. I do quite like the art style. I don't want to flick through too many pages because spoilers, so I'm staying towards the beginning of the volume. What I found with the story was that I actually went through it really quickly. I'm usually really slow with omnibuses, but I'm fairly sure I read this in a day, and I also read some other manga volumes while I was at it. I read like 4 volumes that day, and this was one of them. I would definitely recommend the series. I really like this kind of genre with evil, killy game sort of stuff. Like, I really have been wanting to pick up Battle Royale, but I've been waiting to try and find them for a decent price because they're very hard to find. Alice in Kyoto Forest, Volume 1. So I already talked a little bit about this in my April haul video because I picked it up in April, and then I usually film my monthly manga video about a week into the month, by which point a week into the following month, so I'd already read this one by the time I filmed this. I have talked a little bit about it already. It is a 2-volume series. It's very, very heavily inspired by Alice in Wonderland. There's a lot of series with the word Alice in the name. So our main character is living with, I think, an aunt or an uncle because her parents died when she was younger and she's never really felt like she's belonged, so she kind of tries to find a way of moving away, finding a job or living sort of thing, and I think she finds a role in Kyoto and she calls up saying, I would like to come and do this role, and like, yeah, cool, we'll come get you. And so she kind of just ships off to Kyoto, which is really weird because she's like, does it say how old she is? 16? That's it. She wants to become a full-fledged geisha. Except when she turns up to Kyoto, it's not quite the same. It's like she's gone through the looking glass, but in the case of this story, she crosses a bridge. Things are really weird. There's some like not human people. She doesn't really know what she's doing. She's kind of just trying to flee from home. And there's like a whole bunch about you can only stay here if you have a purpose, so she has to try and find her purpose. And there's a dude who's like a childhood friend of hers. It turns out he's from this world, and I found it very okay. It was quite a nice art style, and it was a kind of sweet, light-hearted read. I didn't think of it too highly though. I found it a bit dull at times as well, especially now I'm trying to think back and think what else really happened, and I don't really remember. It is only a 2-volume series, so if like whimsical, cute, wondery sort of stories are your sort of thing, then you would probably definitely enjoy this, especially since it is only 2 volumes long. That's not too... you're not committing too hard at that point. Beauty and the Feast, Volume 1. Why did I say Volume 1? They're all Volume 1s. So I picked this one up because I absolutely adore food manga. Food in manga just looks so great, and it's like such wonderful inspiration of what sort of fun foods can I cook next. Though, again, I found this one a little odd. I wasn't sure about the relationship between the main character and the dude, but maybe it'll improve over time. The premise of this story is we have 2 characters, woman and kid dude. Woman is, I think, recently widowed, and kid is living on his own while he goes to school, and they both are neighbours. They live next door to each other in this like apartment complex. Through events, she ends up kind of cooking for him because he's doing a lot of sport. He's trying to play baseball, I think. He doesn't really have too much time to cook, and she kind of misses doing a whole bunch of cooking for her husband, so she started cooking for him, and they kind of spend their evenings where they sit together and he eats a lot of food. Yeah, you're like, okay, maybe that's not too bad, except it does start to get a little strange further into the volume where she like starts turning up at his school, like, I've brought food, let's go for a picnic or something. It's like, okay. Bit weird. It was a fine read. It is apparently really slow to come out. I have bought volume 2, but I haven't yet read it. I only bought it a few days ago. I will keep picking it up because food, I'm glad it's a really slow release because then I don't have to rush with picking it up. The art style is quite lovely. We do see, where's a good shot of some food? So we got some nice shots of the food, and I love seeing things like that. There's also a lot of rice. He seems to eat a lot of rice. So that is a common food item. There's even a whole chapter where she goes and buys a rice cooker. The next volume one that I read is Blackguard, volume 1. Well, technically I actually read both volumes 1 and 2, but I'm only talking about volume 1, so that's why this one's here. So in Blackguard, we are in Tokyo, and Tokyo has been overrun with these like ape-like creatures that when they bite or inflict harm on a human, the human then turns into one of them. So most of the population has fled to like rooftops and tops of buildings where the ape-like creatures can't get to them, and they've kind of like flooded the ground with this like white, I think like poisonous gas. Oh no, it wasn't poisonous gas. The apes were like originally black, so they flooded it with white gas to make it easier to see them, but then they kind of adapted and now their fur's white. So they're much harder to see now. The title Blackguard comes from one of our main characters, this dude here. So most of the soldiers that like attacks these apes, because of all the white gas and everything, they are suited in entirely white. But this one dude is dressed entirely in black because he kind of wants to be caught. He has a mental health problem, which means that he wants to die, but also like kind of keeps not dying. He wants to die but manages to still like not die, but he's also really, really good at killing these apes, and he fights with a sword where most of them fight with guns and stuff. So he like swings in and kills them all off, and he's like, still didn't die today. It's a bit weird. It feels really serious, and I just don't think I was feeling a serious manga when I read it. And I read volume 1 and 2 back to back. I should have just like held off till I wanted a serious manga. I don't think it's a very long series at all. Like, ow, bit my tongue. I think maybe 5, 7 or 9 volumes max. So it won't actually be too long till we find out like what everything is. I am really intrigued to see. I love things like this where there's a mystery, like what's caused these ape-like things to appear? What causes them to infect humans? What is all of this about? I love it so much. That's pretty much what's holding me on. If you like drama and more serious manga, you might enjoy this. It's the same artist as Devil's Line, so if you enjoy Devil's Line, maybe this is the same sort of thing. I haven't read Devil's Line yet, so I don't know. Next volume is Crossdressing Villainess, Cecilia Sylvie. So again, I think this was another one I talked a bit about in my April haul. This is a villainess isekai, which I am completely obsessed with. I love it so much. In fact, I am going to do a video specifically about villainess manga because I'm just... So the trope of this villainess manga is to try and hide herself so she doesn't experience any of the bad endings. She has disguised herself as a boy and is hoping that because she looks like a dude that she'll be left alone, except it doesn't go like that. Not at all. Of course it wouldn't. It would be boring if it went like that. Things do keep still going wrong for her, but luckily no one has picked up that she's actually a dude yet, apart from someone who already knew what she was doing, and she's like kind of unveiled everything. I think it's her half brother or a step brother. She's like explained like, I've been isekai'd into a video game and I need to do this, and weirdly her brother is like surprisingly chill with the whole thing. I think it's meant to be like her brother has like, I think it's her step brother, I hope so, otherwise it gets a bit weirder, has like feelings for her, and he's like, well, if she does this, then I can keep her to myself. Sister complex, right? The art style is nice, but to be fair, a lot of villainous manga is pretty lovely and cute. I can't wait to read more of that. I definitely would recommend this, but I understand that that's primarily because I am a sucker for villainous series. In terms of villainess series, it's probably one of the more mundane. I wouldn't say there's anything about it that really like jumped out, but I still enjoyed it because I enjoy the genre. Next we have The Great Pretender, or no, just Great Pretender, Volume 1. So I'm going to start off with saying I hadn't realised that this series was on hiatus, so there is only one volume, even in Japan, so I'm not envisaging being able to pick up more of this for quite a long time now. One thing that strikes me as weird about this volume is just how heavy it is, how dense it is. It feels so crisp, it doesn't want to wobble, the corners are so sharp, and the pages are heavy, the pages are so thick. I don't know what Seven Seas is on, but like, I was really impressed with it just for that, even though like the story was fine. So what drew me to this one is I am a really big fan of like con artist sort of things. I think they're really fun and neat and interesting, especially love TV shows surrounding like con artists. It's just really intriguing to me. So like manga about a con artist, I was like, oh, that's exciting. I found it fine. Not that it was bad, it just felt a bit rushed. It just really dived into the plot quite quickly, and like I'd almost just not managed to get handle of who was who and what was happening before everything had happened. And there were multiple times that I actually had to go back a few pages because I just had missed something, and I'm not sure if that was like the point because it's like a con, or I just got confused reading it. Either or, I easily get confused. So far, I probably wouldn't recommend this series to read just cause there just isn't enough for me to tell you like if it's a good series or not. The print is like really good. It looks so clean. You can see the sheen on it, maybe, hopefully. And I am actually just really impressed at how well printed the volume is, even though I wasn't too bothered about the story. Haru's Curse. So this is a volume 1, but also it's a one-shot-ish. It's an omnibus, I think, with 2 volumes in it. I think I was just on a bit of a binge of omnibus volumes, and I read this and Alice in Borderland like 2 days on the trot. It's got some lovely coloured pages in the middle. Basic premise of Haru's Curse is Haru is her sister and his fiance, and before the story begins we learn that Haru has passed away due to some form of illness. I can't remember if they say. It's them trying to navigate through, but unfortunately they kind of start to grow fond of each other, and both are like, well, we really shouldn't because of Haru, but they kind of continue anyway. I don't know how to describe it. I enjoyed reading it, and then it was a good read, but I don't think I enjoyed it. It's not it's not a particularly jolly read, and I think overall by the end there wasn't really a single character I liked that much, which makes it a lot harder for me to enjoy a story if there's no one that I really liked, which I found was a shame. I am really glad I read it, and I would potentially recommend it to someone, but I mean, I'd need to warn you so much. It's not a light-hearted read. It's quite a heavy read, and there is a lot of mentions of death and passing away because of the main character's younger sister. I probably wouldn't pay retail to read it, but I'm happy with the price I did pay to read it. Magic Artisan Dahlia Wilts No More. This is an isekai. It is an isekai with a female lead. Some of our favourites. Goodness though, I must say, this was quite a dark start to an isekai in my opinion. Our main character has isekai'd into the body of a young girl, and her dad sort of makes magical apparatus and sells them. Is pretty much what he does, and she gets really into it and starts making things that she remembers from her past life, even though she's like really young, just a kid, and people are calling her like a prodigy sort of deal, and she's loving it. She's having so much fun. She starts to grow a bit older, and her dad takes on an apprentice. I'm trying to remember how it happens. There's an arranged marriage is sort of between the apprentice and Dahlia, even though she doesn't get a say. He seems like a nice guy at first, and then there's a few pages of just like comments from him, and you can see her just like progressively getting more and more down, where he's like, I don't like women who wear makeup, I don't like women who have such vibrant coloured hair, I don't like women, and you can just see her as a person like slowly breaking down, and my heart, did not take it very well. But eventually, just before they're about to actually get married, her father passes away, unfortunately, and I think the dude actually falls in love with someone else. He wasn't really in love with Dahlia, he just felt like it would be the right thing to do. He falls in love with someone else and he wants to break the engagement. And Dahlia's like, okay, I think that's fine. And oh my god, she then blossoms as a person again. It's beautiful to read, and you feel like this is a lot of spoilers. Most of this is chapter 1 or chapter 2, so I feel like they're fair game, I'll be honest, otherwise how am I going to explain the story to you? Eventually Dahlia goes back to sort of making her own stuff and is trying to find her own feet again. She sort of had relied a whole bunch on her ex-fiancé because his family sort of owned the Merchants Guild, or ran the Merchants Guild that she sold her products through, and obviously she can't really do that anymore, so she kind of ends up setting her own place up and is like trying to figure all that out and getting back into the whole fun of making magical apparatus. There is also a rather nice moment with a strapping knight where she is out foraging dressed as a dude so she doesn't get harassed on the road, and she saves said knight, but knight thinks she's a dude, and yeah, that's some nice moments. And yeah, and slight spoiler for the end of the first volume. Skip along if you are interested. We end the volume with the knight turning up to town to try and find her. But he thinks she's a dude, so it's a bit interesting. I wonder how that'll go. I'm very excited for volume 2. It is very lovely artwork. It's just like fantasy, magical, isekai. I absolutely love it. So lovely. That's the knight, by the way. The maid I hired recently is mysterious. Did you know that the maid he hired recently is mysterious? Did I mention that? Did you know that the maid he hired recently is mysterious? Mysterious is the maid that he hired recently. I'm sure you're like, what's wrong with you, Caitlin? Every chapter in this volume starts off with him going, the maid I hired recently is mysterious. Every chapter starts off, the maid I hired recently is mysterious. Let's go to another one for funsies. The maid I hired recently is mysterious. 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 I'm going to stop there. Do not worry. So I had picked up volumes 1 and 2 of this quite a few months ago, actually. I just hadn't gotten around to reading them, and then I kind of I was trying to pick up some like shorter volumes to read, and they're really thin. So I read my volume 1 and 2 back to back. Before I talk a bit more about the maid I hired recently is mysterious, there are some really neat artistic things, I don't know how to describe it, about the volumes I really like. I really like the colour in her eyes is purple. It's like the only colour in the volume. I find that really striking. I think that's really neat to look at. It's a nice touch that drew me in. There's another shot where she is embarrassed. On to the plot. Did you know that the maid he hired recently is mysterious? I actually don't think there's much more plot to it. So the chapters in this volume at least are really episodic. So there are 13 chapters in this. And every chapter is just a little thing that she has done, and he's like, that's weird. Oh, and also for context, the dude that has hired the maid is like a 10-year-old boy. Yeah, we're just going to keep that in the back of your head. A 10-year-old boy. And he's like, she cooks really well. That's mysterious. What has she put in the food? Or she's disappeared for a while. That's mysterious. And she's like just doing the washing or something. It's stuff like that. And there is like pretty much no story to it, like progressive story so far. There is a bit more in volume 2, like the second half of volume 2 kind of has like a story through the chapters, which was nice because I was starting to be like, oh my god, I get it, the maid is mysterious. I think the weirdest bit about it is just like how intense they're trying to suggest there's a romantic relationship between the two of them. I mean, if you look at her on the cover, she's definitely like mid to late teens at least, and he is a kid. It's a bit creepy in my opinion, especially some of the things which get suggested. Says the young boy. Why does she always go to bed after me? Why, says the mysterious maid. That's so I can gaze on your adorable sleeping face, young master. Then, says the young boy, why not just sleep with me? Why? Why? And then I was super confused. It was perfectly timed. I read volumes 1 and 2 of this, went on Twitter, and it was like, oh, anime announced for the maid I hired recently as mysterious, and I was like, oh, that's mysterious. The most heretical last boss queen from villainess to savior. Another villainous isekai. Same as most other villainous isekais where she's been reincarnated into the villainess as a child and is like, oh shit, I need to turn my life around so, I don't die when I'm older. So the villainess in this story, in like the original story, she turns out as like a maniacal ruler where she is very abusive and kills a lot of people and is not a nice person. And instead of trying to like run away or change their identity like a lot of the other ones do, she's just trying to be a nice person so when she does rule, that people like her, basically. In this series so far, she is still a child and we've only met one of the roots, one of the dudes, I suppose. Have we met only one? We might have met a second one. But we've mainly only met one, and it is this dude here who has been like adopted into the family to be her brother, but like also her secretary sort of deal. It wasn't entirely clear. He's there to like help look after her basically, but they're not blood related at all. And originally in the Otome game that she's sort of isekai'd into, he pretty much hates her by this point because she's done some horrific things, but when she's been reincarnated, he's actually completely now smitten with her because she's really kind and has done nice things and tried to make his whole experience a lot nicer. I don't think the artwork is particularly amazing, like it's not bad, but of all the other like villainous isekais, it's not one of the most pretty, but it reminds me a lot of like My Next Life as Villainess. It's not to say I don't like it, but in terms of like cutesy pretty stuff, it's one of the lower down ones in my opinion. I'm excited for this one. I think I've enjoyed this one more than the cross-dressing one, just because it feels like there's a lot more on the line in terms of endgame, instead of usually just being banished or something. This one's like, she's going to change how the country operates sort of deal. Humper the Cinephile. So first off, quite a thin volume, but it is a bigger volume, and also I feel like the pages are like really packed. There's a lot of stuff going on, so I wasn't too bothered about how thin the volume was. So pretty much the premise is they make movies. The main character is producer and makes movies. I found the first 3 chapters quite slow, but it was also setting up the story, so I kind of understood, but it like really took me a while to read those chapters, like definitely a few hours to just get through like half the volume, just because I couldn't sit and read it. Then the second half of the story is they actually make a movie, and we meet like the directors and some of the actors and the process and how they do it, and that was really neat to read and I enjoyed it, and I was like just really starting to get into it, and then the volume ended. I was like, dang it. There is a second volume which I did pick up recently, but I haven't read it yet. I think there's only 2 volumes out now anyway. It seems to be a really slow release, so I don't know if I should hold off reading that until I have a few more, but that could be years. I'm not sure. If you're a movie fan, this might be a good thing for you to pick up. They do the characters talk about their favourite movies and films and why they're their favourites, and they're real movies. They're not like made up for the manga, I think. I don't tend to watch as many movies. I definitely want to. I definitely want to try and get through like IMDb's top 100 at some point. I just haven't yet. I hope to have the time at some point. Next we have Sakamoto Days Volume 1. This I picked up like literally 2 days ago. It's going to be in my May manga haul, but they've just not filmed that one yet. It took so long for this volume to get to the UK. It's so sad. I think volume 2 might be out in the US now. This has been so bigged up in the community. I've seen so many people pick it up, so many people love it, and I definitely really enjoyed it too. It's basically an assassin falls in love and retires and gets fat. That's like that's the setup for the story. He was a really renowned assassin, but he falls in love, they get married, they have a child, he retires, opens a convenience store, and gains a lot of weight because he eats a lot of food. But a lot of he keeps ending up in situations where he has to use his assassin skills, so even though he's out of shape, he's still really fast and good at beating people up. There's a rule that his wife has set that he isn't allowed to kill anyone though, so he never kills anyone, he just sort of, I nearly said decapitates them, that would kill them, incapacitates them, so they can't fight back. It's a really silly story. We've had a few more characters sort of join in and end up working at the convenience store, which is a whole bundle of fun, and just, yeah, it's been fun so far. There hasn't been like too much more story. There seems to be a bounty out on the main dude's head, so a whole bunch of people keep turning up trying to kill him, and he's like trying to just live his life and not get killed, and also to keep them out of the way so he can like have fun family time and stuff. I would definitely recommend this one, especially since it's a Viz series, so if you're not interested in picking it up physically, you could try reading it on the Shonen Jump app. Also, Viz volumes tend to be some of the cheaper ones, so it's not as arduous to start picking this up then compared to Pump in the Cinephile, which I'm fairly sure My Forbidden Planet sold it at $12.99 volume. The Sorcerer King of Destruction and the Golem of the Barbarian Queen Volume 1. It is an isekai. I didn't think it was very good, though. I also made a mistake. I typically, to find out how many volumes are in a series or how many have been published, I use a website called Manga Updates. And Manga Updates listed this as only being 2 volumes long. But I was looking at 7C's releases and they had volume 3 coming out next month. And I was like, well then it's not only 2 volumes, is it? So I have no idea how long the series is going to be. I was kind of hoping it was only going to be 2 volumes because I didn't really enjoy volume 1. I found it really boring. I guess I'll just hold out and see how many more volumes there are. It did start to pick up towards the end and I was like, great, I'll have to pick up volume 2 and see how it wraps up. But it's not going to wrap up now in volume 2. I'm trying to remember what the actual story was. Like, I think he gets isekai'd and he's been given all this power of like an old sorcerer king, and what was meant to happen was the sorcerer king was going to like take over this dude's body because he'd like his body was old and decrepit and he died, but it like left all these spells in place so like it would overtake the dude's body, but the dude like went a different way and kind of avoids the spell, so it's not happened. So he's not been taken over, but he's still got all the magic, and he's like kind of trapped in this like basin with like nice trees and a house, and he's just sort of chilling, and he realizes because of his magic he tries to practice magic, and he starts being able to make these golems, but they keep collapsing after a few uses, and then he managed to make this one golem that doesn't collapse, and eventually he gets bored, so they decide to go traveling, and I think they kind of walk in somewhere and something happens and the golem transforms to like a woman. That was pretty much where the volume ended, so I was like, yeah, I don't think there was too much about it that like jumped out to me that made me want to read more. I mean, I kept forgetting what the story was about. I had to flick through it multiple times while doing this little recording to remember. So far, I would not recommend this series. I definitely want to read some more to see if it gets better. There are better isekai out there. Survival in Another World with My Mistress. Do you know what? I never thought I'd actually say this is the second Minecraft isekai in my collection. Second. 2 Minecraft isekai in my collection. The first being Cube Arts, if you're not aware. Basically, it's Minecraft. This one, I feel, does it way better. This one was like actually amusing and so obviously Minecraft. It was a little amusing. So we have on this panel here where he's like imagining the tab key and then he opens the inventory and it's like, what am I reading? He has a crafting menu. He can jump by imagining tapping the space bar. It's just so dumb. And then there's another bit where I was like, oh my god. Here we go. He unlocks there's an achievement list. Oh my god, being isekai'd and getting an achievement list? That sounds like a dream come true. So this series is a plastic wrapped. It is Ghost Ship. He pretty much is found by this dark elf woman in the forest, and she's like, I'm making you my slave. But it's not really much of like a slave sort of relationship. It's more like a lot of people don't like humans because they like have abused non-human races, and she kind of does it so her own people don't attack him. So it's only kind of like a front sort of deal, and they have sort of a cozy, intimate kind of relationship going on behind the scenes. And there's a lot of like him trying to integrate into like the life with this elves and non-human races. And we also have him doing a whole bunch of like building where he's like placing blocks and stuff, proper Minecraft style. It's great. It is like, it's good bad, if that makes sense. It's not great series, it's not a great story, it's like really like meh, but like I thought it was great because of that, or regardless of that. So I'm really excited by this one, and I'm so happy because Cube Arts was so shit. It's like a good Minecraft isekai. Final volume 1 that I read in May was Sweetness and Lightning. So I kind of held off picking this one up for a while, even though I knew it was about food, because I'd seen a couple of people talk about an uncomfortable age gap, and I think I kind of get what they're talking about, but I don't really see it as much with this one. I must say, reading this the day after I read Beauty and the Feast was like really amusing to me, because it's pretty much the same story, just the gender roles are reversed, and this one has a kid. Basically, this guy is a teacher, and one of his students like doesn't really get to spend any time with their mum. I don't know where the dad is, they might just not be in the picture or passed away, can't remember, but they're on their own a lot, and through various reasons they end up spending time together, the student, the teacher, and the teacher's daughter. So the teacher's wife has passed away, so he is a single dad. They kind of just spend time together cooking. That's about it. I didn't really feel too much inappropriateness. It felt more like a father-daughter kind of relationship over whatever Beauty and the Feast is. There is also generally a lot more focus on food than I found in Beauty and the Feast. Like every chapter was usually about cooking a different kind of food or different kind of stuff, and there's recipes at the end of the chapters. I always appreciate recipes at the end of chapters, like they used to do in Food Wars. I did find it a little dull, but I'm kind of okay with that, because the kind of manga it is, it's a super chill slice of life, and it's super wholesome. So I kind of, and maybe again I wasn't just in the right mood when I was reading it, but it was really lovely. I have started picking up some more volumes. It is complete. I can't remember exactly how many volumes. It's 11, 12, 13-ish sort of area. But yeah, I can't wait to see where this one goes. I would recommend this if you like slice of life, chill, or you like food. Definitely try this series. There we have all of the volume 1s that I read in May. Do let me know what you thought. I hope that some of those were interesting to you and I portrayed what they were about goodly. Let me know in the comments if I actually did tempt you by anything, or did I put you off anything. Sorry if that's the case. If something I talked about did tickle your fancy, why not use my affiliate links down below? Get yourself a treat. And if you haven't already, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe so you'll be alerted for so much more manga content. I'm trying to film a whole bunch of shorter videos where I like recommend or talk about different series I've read. Again, still doing the manga hauls and unboxings. Going to probably try and do another collection tour within the next couple of months when I've gotten some more shelving. And I think that collection tour will be like me talking about the volumes themselves, like is it secondhand, is it damaged, how much I thought I paid for it, where it came from, any stories around the volumes. And then I want to do like a mega collection tour where I talk about each of the series. but I have over 750 series I think now in my collection, so that video is gonna be so long, or I split it up. I don't quite know how I'm gonna do it yet. I'll have to have a good think. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye!